Hey, Dad, 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 Dad,
Son.
Dad,
Son.
Dad. So you know how we were talking about that movie the other day?
Movie?
Yeah, you know the one that like all my friends wanted to go to, but I don't want to go to because the message didn't line up with, the Bible's message.
That movie.
Yeah. But I was thinking, it's just like a little message. Like it doesn't really matter, It's just a little bit.
Son.
And Dad. I know there's like a little bit of gore in it, but it's only like a little bit.
Son.
Like, Dad. And I know there's a little bit of cursing in it or language, as you say, but like it's only a little bit, right?
Listen, Ezra.
Dad. And I know there's a little bit of nudity in it, but like I said, it's only a little bit, and it's not real.
Son, listen.
Dad.
You can go to the movie.
Man, Dad, what do you know? Wait, what?
You can go to the movie, Ezra.
Dad, oh, you're the best dad ever. Thanks, man.
No worries.
Thanks. Oh, cool.
Ezra,
Yeah.
before you go,
Yeah.
one should never go to the movies on an empty stomach.
Oh, that's not...
So I decided, in anticipation of this conversation, that I would make some of our secret family recipe chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, Dad. Yo, these are good. They taste kind of different, though.
Well, I mean, it's all the usual ingredients. I mean, you've got some sugar, you've got some flour, you've got some butter in there, and well, no, you're right. I did add something a little different this time.
Dad, are these those cannibal cookies?
Cannibal cookies.
Yeah.
Do you mean Oh, no, not those kind of cookies, Ezra.
Oh, okay. Just checking. So what was it, like cinnamon or something?
No, there's no cinnamon in this.
Like paprika?
Ezra, why would I add paprika to the cookies?
Nah, never mind, Dad.
Ezra, these cookies have something a little bit different. Those aren't chocolate chips. It's dog poo.
Dad, why would you put dog poop in cookies?
I mean, it's just a little bit, Ezra. It's just a little bit of dog poo. Surely a little bit of dog poo doesn't affect the whole cookie, right? The whole message. Isn't that what you were saying before?
Yo, man, Dad, if you don't want me to go to the movies, just say so. Don't give me dog poop cookies. What? Man, we're going to have some apple juice and go to the movies now.
All right, son.
Hey, Dad, this is just apple juice, right?
Let's give them another round of applause. Hey, before I start this morning, I just wanted to take the time to honour somebody. He's not actually here today, but his family are. Morris Curtis. He's down at Man Camp with our men, but I think we mentioned a few weeks ago that Morris had been promoted to professor at the University of Auckland, and on Thursday night I got the opportunity to go there and hear his inaugural speech. What I didn't realise, and what I want us to realise, is just what an honour that is. And he did us so incredibly proud in that speech. He talked about this faith community and how it's impacted his life. Morris researches a lot of illnesses to do with the brain that really destroy life. and he's done amazing things in that field. And so, Morris, if you watch online, we honour you today. You are remarkable, and we are all incredibly proud of you. Let's give him a hand, even though he's not here. Okay, so as Leah said, we are in the middle of our wilderness series. We're actually up to week 4 now. And we've learnt that the biggest fight in our lives can be the fight from walking our potential and placing it inside God's purpose for our lives. We've learnt that our story is just a small part of a much larger story, and that we are hugely influenced by the people that we associate with. And then just last week, William reminded us that no matter what we are facing, no matter where we're at, Jesus remains our provider, he remains our victory, and he is our identity. This week we look at the second temptation that Jesus faced in the wilderness. And when it comes to temptations, there's 2 things that we need to remember. Firstly, there's always more at stake than we think. And secondly, our ability to endure temptation has got a lot to do with our confidence in God. Interestingly enough, these things tend to slide off our radar when it comes to temptation. They are the last things that we generally think about. But if we can learn to pause in the middle of our temptation just for a moment, to remember and to realise that it's not simply an issue of our self-control, it's also an issue of our confidence in God. You see, temptation takes many forms. It can be food, it can be the internet, it can be TV, it can be spending on clothes or tools or whatever it is that we love to buy. It can look like power or control. Temptation can be a person or a game or a behaviour. Temptation at times asks us to do something that we shouldn't, but it can just as easily be about getting us not to do something that we know would be good for us to do. And you might be sitting here today thinking, I don't get it. What does what I eat have to do with my confidence in God? We separate them completely, and it's often why we struggle to break free from whatever it is that has a hold over us. But we have to remember that with every temptation we face, there's more at stake than we think. And with every temptation, there's a relationship between that temptation and our confidence in God. There's a choice to be made. Who will we listen to? Who or what will reign supreme in our lives? Who or what will become our master? You know, growing up, I always wanted a dog, but my mum had a cat and she loved the cat, and so she didn't want to freak the cat out by getting a dog, and so we just had the cat. And then I got married and I thought, awesome, it's finally time for me to get a dog. But I married a guy who's allergic to dogs. Dogs trigger his asthma. And then we had our girls, Jess and Ella, and they desperately wanted a dog, especially Ella. For those of you who know Ella, Ella from a really young age has been obsessed with all animals. And she will spend any time she can with any kind of animal. I've seen her tame wild birds, a lizard, a duck, chickens, pretty much any kind of animal. But boy, did she want a dog. Sadly, the answer was always the same. It's a dog or your dad. Luckily for Richard, we always chose him. Then one Sabbath afternoon, about 5 years ago, the conversation once again came around to wanting a dog. And I have no idea why, but for some reason that afternoon we indulged the conversation. And we started talking about what kind of dog we'd have and the favourite that everybody wanted. And that led to looking online because we thought, well, we need to see what they all look like, all the different ones that they all look like. And that led to a Trade Me search. And you know where this is heading, hey? Before we knew it, the next morning, we were heading out west to have a look at a litter of Labrador puppies. And if you know us at all, that was it really, because allergy or no allergy, our family is way too weak to say no to a Labrador puppy. How do you say no to that face, people? But if only we knew then what we know now about Labradors. They're adorable, they said, and it's true. They're beautiful, they said, and it's true. They're so kind. They will do anything and everything to make you love them, they said. And they do. But what they didn't say, that we soon discovered, is that they also have an utterly insatiable appetite. There is no off switch when it comes to a Labrador, none at all. This dog has eaten rubber gloves. She has eaten 5 of my girls' erasers. She eats their dirty tissues, delicious. She keeps coming back for more. She's eaten Richard's trailer wires several times. Did not go down well, just saying. She's eaten our polystyrene spa cover. And often we don't even know these things are happening until, they go through her. It's awesome. Get them all over the lawn. She eats it all. And she inhales her food. I'm not sure that this dog has ever tasted anything her whole life because it doesn't stay in her mouth long enough for her taste buds to even begin to register. The only upside is that she will do anything. She will do absolutely anything for food. It is a massive temptation for her, but it's also a huge motivator. Take a look at the screens.
Sit. Down. Down. Good girl. Go to mat. Stay. 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 Sit.
How did that cute little thing get to be that great monstrosity is all I've got to say. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, so I'm going to show you on the screens. But Maddie, although she is very aware that she has treats that she loves sitting on her paws, so close in fact, that she knows that she can get to those treats way quicker than we could ever take them away. Notice her eyes. Where is her focus? Her focus remains on Richard. Her focus remains on her master because she trusts him. She knows that if she wants more treats, then she needs to have them when he gives her the okay, or there may not be any more. She has an amazing memory, and she's learnt that all good things come to her if she is patient. Unless you're William and you're having cake at our house and you're just not paying attention, even though you've been told over and over and over again to watch your cake, and the dog eats it. So let's get into our second temptation. In a nutshell, Jesus' second temptation is to pursue the right thing the wrong way. And here's the thing. This is about being tempted just temporarily, not forever, just for a little while. Just for a little while to abandon what we know is right for progress. We're going to have a look at the story in Luke chapter 4 and from verse 4. It says, "Then the devil took him up and revealed all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. I will give you the glory of these kingdoms and authority over them," the devil said, "because they are mine to give to anyone I please. I will give it all to you if you will worship me," Jesus replied. I will give it all to you if you will worship me. Jesus replied, "The scriptures say you must worship the Lord your God and serve only him." This is what the devil is saying. If you submit to me and my authority, I will give you more authority. Jesus, if you will submit just temporarily, we're not talking forever, and I mean, no one is even here to see it. If you just submit, if you just bow down in this moment, if you just take what you know to be true, what you value, and if you just set it aside for just a moment, I will give you more authority. Now, to understand this well, we need to understand the meaning of the word authority, because we often see and we often use that word in our current context and world. When I say the word authority, what does it make you think? Oh, before you look at the screens. Okay, we often think of authority as power. The dictionary says the power or right to give orders, to make decisions, and to enforce obedience. Synonyms are words like control, dominance, command, and power. But, and this is really important, the word authority in the Bible and in this context has a very different meaning. Okay, the biblical definition of the word authority is this: the freedom to decide or act without hindrance. You see, Satan has always misunderstood the essence of who God is. He twists what God offers, and he tries to make us believe that he has a better option, a better way of doing things, a better way of getting somewhere. But at the core, he's trying to control us. He wants to exert his power and control over our lives. God, on the other hand, sits on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. God chooses to not exert any power or any control over any one of us. He instead uses his kind of authority. He gives us the freedom to choose. He gives us the freedom to decide, to act without any kind of hindrance, any kind of manipulation or control or guilt. And some of you may be thinking, how is this even a temptation? Why is this a big deal? It's a big deal because it's one of the reasons Jesus came. You see, right from the beginning in Genesis, when God created man, one of the first things he said to them was, everything that is on the earth is under your authority. God effectively gave them the freedom and the choice to care for all he had created. All of the earth was under man's authority. But when Adam and Eve chose to believe the serpent's lie, when they chose to believe in the kind of authority that Satan offered instead of the kind of authority that God had gifted them, they shifted allegiance. They effectively said, God, we don't trust you anymore. And the consequence of that decision because there is always a consequence, is that they handed the authority they had been given back over to Satan. Notice in the story that Jesus doesn't argue with Satan, because one of the reasons that he came to our world was to help us see the difference between the authority that the enemy offers us compared to the authority that God offers. You know, the enemy God is trying to offer us freedom and choice instead of power and control. But Satan is really good at disguising power and control and making it look really attractive. This temptation is right at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. It's before he's had to walk the tough road that he knows he's about to take. Before he walks the road of love, freedom, choice, and trust. And Satan tempts him with this. He's effectively saying to Jesus, instead of doing the hard yards, instead of being rejected by those who should know better, instead of investing in 12 guys who will drive you nuts and then go and betray you and deny you, instead of feeling the heartache of separation from your father, instead of being physically and mentally beaten, I've got another option. Don't worry about the next 3 years. Don't worry about doing things in a painful way. You can have it all now. No cross, no suffering, no death, no blood, no pain, no breaking your mother's heart. We can skip all that. And I can give it to you right here, right now. All you have to do is just temporarily submit to me. Temporarily submit to my kind of thinking on authority, to my way of doing things here on earth. And then I'll give it all to you. And we face the same temptation. Its skin might look different, but it's essentially the same. We're going to be locked and loaded in the very thing that God has called us to, whether it's a business or a relationship or a ministry. Maybe it's raising something or someone. Whatever it is along the way, there is going to be an opportunity, more than one actually. And all we'll have to do is temporarily take our eye off what we know to be true. Take our eye off what we value. Take our eye off the way we were raised, off the values that we want to pass on. And we'll only have to compromise temporarily. And by submitting to the enemy's authority, by choosing to use manipulation or power or control, we may potentially gain what the devil sees as great authority. And the lie, the trick, the emotion says this: it's just for a moment. I'm going to bend the rules just once. And on the other side, everything will be just fine. Because in the moment, we think the issue is the guy. We think it's the girl. We think it's the deal, the money, the raise, the clothing. We think the issue is the thing that we have got our hearts and minds set on. But that's not the issue. You know what the issue is? The issue is our peace. It's being able to go to bed at night and look up at a dark ceiling and think, you know what? I'm exactly where God wants me to be, doing exactly what God wants me to do. And the moment we take the shortcut, the moment we compromise what's important for what's immediate, the moment we ignore God, we begin to lose confidence in Him. And when we get to the other side and we close the deal or get the thing on the other side, when we get what we're after, we begin to lose more and more trust in God. Temptation isn't just a test of our self-control. Temptation is a test of our trust in God. Because it's not the deal. It's not the scholarship. It's not the test, the game, the team. The issue is, do we trust God? Can we trust him with whatever the outcome will be? Or do we have to take matters into our own hands? How does Jesus respond to this temptation? He goes back to what he knows. He goes back to what he's been taught, what God has spoken into his life through the Bible, and he remembers when the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you a land with large, flourishing cities you did not build, houses filled with all kinds of good things you did not provide, wells you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. Then you eat and are satisfied. In other words, when things are going well, be careful that you don't forget God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. This is how it relates to us. You may be in year 13 and applying for university, and you're thinking, if you don't get in, it may just be the end of your world. Maybe you think if you just fudge the results or copy from someone or do whatever it takes. That's when we need to stop and think. Who gave me my brain? Who gave me the family that supported me this far? Who gave me the desire to even go to university in the first place? Who got me through year 12? Who gave me this opportunity? So why do we consider abandoning God when we've seen what he's done through our life? Or we're going for a promotion at work. There's only one position, but 13 people are going for it. And there are ways we can go. There are things we can say. There are ways that we can manipulate. But then we have to think, who got us to this place? We need to look back at our life, at the obstacles that we've overcome. We need to look back at the faithfulness. We need to look back at the consequences that we have had to pay in the past. Who got us to the place where we even got this opportunity? Because I think that sometimes we make God ask, why would you abandon me now? Why do you think that the enemy's definition of authority is better than mine? Why would you try to manipulate and guilt and control people? Why suddenly do you think that I am not big enough, strong enough, or faithful enough to get you to the other side using my kind of authority? The kind of authority which uses love, freedom, and choice. Temptation calls us to sacrifice what's important for what's immediate. And in that moment, we discover who we are and whose we are. Jesus quotes Deuteronomy 6, verse 13, as his response back to the enemy. He says, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Do you know what Jesus wanted more than he wanted all the kingdoms of the earth? He wanted unbroken connection with his Father. Do you know what he got in the end? Both. You know what we get when we use Satan's definition of authority to get what we want, and we're willing to sacrifice connection with God for it? Neither. In the moment, in the tension, we need to ask ourselves, What is it that we want so bad that we are willing to trade what we need most in order to get it? What is it for you? Who is it for you? What is it that we want so bad that we're willing to say to God, I know you've got me this far, but I don't think I can trust you on this one because, I'm willing to sacrifice connection with you in order to get what I want because I'm worried that you will think that what I need is something different to what I think I need. It's an issue. It's an issue of trust. Satan's business has always been about using power, control, and authority over God and his people. His temptation over and over again is worship me instead of God. I'll provide a quicker way. I'll offer a more fun way. I'll make it easier. And what we often forget is these temptations from the enemy are always a lie. He's the master at twisting the truth, at making us think that what we do is justified, but simply put, it is not. It's a lie. And we all experience this. Because the reality is that there are many roads to take to find a solution. And they can all look incredibly different from one another, or they can look largely the same, just a little different. And that's what we're talking about. That's where it can be so easy to make justifications about shifts in our allegiance. It's why in our journey with the conference and the executive committee this year, in negotiating our leadership structure, it's why in fighting for the way that we do ministry in our local community, that it's mattered far more to me how we arrive at the place we will arrive than what that place looks like when we get there. Because the reality is, we've had several roads to take. We have options. We have the choice to temporarily ignore what we know to be the right thing, the right road, the right path. And we have the ability to use the enemy's form of authority. We could have used power, control, and manipulation. Or we had the choice to continue in God's way. I wish I could tell you that I'm so holy that it's been easy. It hasn't. I've wanted to take some of those other paths more times than I care to admit. But that's why it's really important, church, that we surround ourselves with people who hold us up, who support us, and hold us accountable to stay on the path that they know we have chosen. The path that sometimes is a whole lot more difficult to walk. The one that sometimes takes far longer, but the one that leaves us with peace, assurance, and more fully connected to God. This temptation is a battle for our worship, for our allegiance. Who will we serve? Who do we honour? Who or what do we exalt? Because worship is about what we offer to God, and it humbles us. It puts our priorities back in the right order. Worship is never about us, church, ever. It's about God. And when we worship anything or anyone other than God, when we use their methods instead of his, we end up comparing, resentful, and discontent. So this morning, as we sing this last song together, I leave you with two questions to ponder. Who do you trust more, God or yourself? And what kind of authority will you choose to use moving forward. God, you're awesome. And we're here today to declare that we trust you and that moving forward, we want to use your kind of authority in every situation that we deal with. The kind of authority that allows choice and freedom and love. And God, we don't want to use any other kind of authority. Any other kind of authority is a lie from the devil. And God, we just want to stay on the path that you have chosen for us. And so God, give us the strength to sustain that. Surround us with the people that we need to encourage that and to hold us up. And thank you for being such a great God and a God that we get to look at and go, wow, we just want to do it his way. We love you. Amen.